Millions of people along the Gulf Coast are evacuating or hunkering down as Hurricane Harvey picks up strength. The storm is now a Category 3 with more than 110-mile-per-hour winds. It could bring 3 feet of rain to some areas and waves topping 12 feet.
Residents have been preparing for days now, boarding up windows and stockpiling food. Thousands are heading out of town ahead of what could be the most powerful storm to hit the United States in nearly 12 years. Corpus Christi's Mayor Joe McComb joins us now by phone. Mayor, we're thankful for your time on this busy day. You've been encouraging people to evacuate, but you haven't made it mandatory citywide. So why isn't it mandatory, and what's your message for residents?
Well, the reason it's not mandatory is that, one, you can't enforce it. You can't force people to leave. You can't send the police out there and drag them out. So my thought is, why do you do something if you can't enforce it? We can highly recommend it, and we've done that as plain English as we can, that they need to get off the low-lying areas. And out on the Padre Island, Mustang Island, North Beach. And so we have, and they've responded very positively. We've had a great participation in people seeking higher ground. I just got off the phone talking to the mayor of Laredo, and he told me half of Corpus Christi's in Laredo. All their hotel rooms are full. So we've been successful. Many people went to San Antonio and then points beyond. So they've heeded the warnings, and that we've been able to focus our attention to making sure everybody's secure. The roads are open. The drainage ditches are open to the best of our abilities. And we have done everything possible to have a safe experience through this storm. Of course, we have no way of knowing, if the weather folks are right, then we're going to have a lot of rain, and then the storm surge. So you got the storm surge coming one way. You got the drainage system trying to drain everything back into the bay. So you've got competing energy forces there, which means the drainage is not going to be very fast. So it's going to be building up in the drainage ditches and on the streets, and hopefully not in the residences. But our main objective is to make sure that people are out of harm's way from the water and the wind. You can replace your house, and you can replace your carpet, you can fix your car, but we just don't want to have anybody injured or killed.
And Mayor McComb, you said that a lot of people are heeding the warnings to evacuate. It might be hard to say, but is it about 50%, 75% of the residents have been leaving? Is it possible to estimate?
No, not really, because, I mean, in addition to the people that are in the low-lying areas, the rest of the community was free to leave, too. So, and I'm sure there's several that did that, and, I mean, many that did. So it's hard to tell. I know the streets, when I got up this morning, they were pretty vacant. And then when I was working my way back to my house from City Hall, none of the shopping centers were open. Even the fast food places were closed, and some of the service stations, convenience stores, their pumps were still out where you could use your credit card, but they'd closed up. So there's really no reason for people to be out on the streets. There's no place to spend their money. And so they just need to stay home, just hunker down until the storm passes. And then when they are able to get out after the storm, don't drive through water. You never know that water looks level, but there may be a 10-foot hole underneath it where the street's washed out or something. So until they can actually see where they're driving, we just recommend that they don't get out. The good news is that this is a weekend, and people would have less pressure to get out and go do something, as opposed to if there's a work day, they'd really try to get to work. So things seem to be working in our favor for safety, human safety, and we just hope that people use good judgment.
Yeah, and for those using their judgment to evacuate, how is that going? We heard Governor Abbott talk about 200 buses that would help with the evacuation. Do you feel like that process is going the way you'd like to see it?
From what I understand, it's been very, very smooth. The game plan was that people that needed to evacuate, that really didn't have a way to get out of town, if they could get themselves over to a staging area, what we call the natatorium. It's a big complex in our CCISD's sports complex, where we got the natatorium as a swimming facility, and then we got baseball fields, soccer fields, which is big parking areas. The people were were brought over there, either brought over there by friends or relatives or church groups or whatever. Then they were put on a bus, and I believe they were taken to San Antonio. And that's part of our game plan, is working with San Antonio in situations like this, that they do make provisions to put them up.
Sounds like a lot of sounds like a lot of cooperation between different communities. How have local? Go ahead, Mayor.
Well, I mean, it has just been amazing to see all of the backroom workings of how this plan is put together. The public has no concept of the number of people that are involved and the arrangements that are made, and I mean, everything that you can think of, has been thought of. I mean, nobody's called and said, "Oh, we didn't think about that." I mean, there's places evacuate pets if we have to evacuate pets, and evacuate different things. And so we really believe that our years of experience and practice and planning are going to pay off for us.
And how have officials there in Corpus Christi been working with state and federal officials heading into this?
Well, I mean, we've had contacts. I've had my office has been contacted from everything from the White House to our 2 senators, to our congressman, and then our governor has been in communication with us, our state representatives, and they're saying we're here, we're ready to move on a moment's notice when you give us the notice of what you need and where you need it. We're one big family down here in Texas, and we just everybody's pulling together, and I think when it's all over, I hope that we can be looked at as a model, as the benchmark of working together in cooperation and facing a terrible challenge and coming out victorious. And my goal is that we get through this and there's no fatalities.
At the White House today, they really emphasized the state and local response and said this is primarily a state and local issue, and the federal government will kind of fill in the gaps as we can. Do you feel like you're getting the support from the federal government you want and need?
At this point, yes. I mean, until it's over, I guess when it comes in with FEMA, we'll have to do the assessment in terms of what kind of damage is there and what they can do to help people. If we get a lot of flooding, which is predicted, I'm sure there's many people down here that don't have flood insurance because floods are pretty rare in Corpus Christi. But many people do have it, but there's some that don't. And because, we have a pretty good size and diverse community, so I just have no idea, but they are letting us know that they're on standby and they're ready to help and assist in any way. So, but you're right, the local community is responsible for itself, and the state and then the feds come in to help us and assist us. But the city, local elected officials, and the county officials, we've got a great working relationship. Our county judge was a former mayor. I was and then he became county judge. I've been a former city councilman and a former county commissioner. We've got good working relationships. Nobody's out on I'm in charge kind of trip. Everybody says we're all in this together, and it's been a wonderful experience, and I think is the benchmark the way things get done.
So that's a great thing to hear. Mayor, you have been in Corpus Christi for quite some time, it sounds like. Were you there when Hurricane Ike hit Texas in 2008, and how does this compare?
No, I wasn't involved with Ike. I've been here longer than that. I was here when Hurricane Celia hit.
And when was that?
I didn't. That was in 1970.
Oh, wow.
And that was probably the biggest storm that hit Corpus Christi. The wind, the instruments they were using back in 1970, those instruments broke at 160 miles an hour. Huh. But we didn't have the rain. It was unbelievable. It was just a big wind event. Had a lot of damage. Of course, it tore up a lot of boats down in the marina. But, I mean, as soon as it was over, we went out and raised the garage door, drove all around town to look at the damage, go down to my business and see what was happening down there. But in this one, thankfully, the wind is not as high as Celia, but the water and the storm surge and the rain, the vast amount of rain that we're expecting has really got everybody concerned, because Corpus Christi is flat, you know, and water doesn't drain real fast. And when you get this kind of water dumped, this volume of water dumped on you, you know, your streets fill up pretty quick, and it's just going to take a while for it to run off.
Yeah, last thing on that long-term concern. There's a flooding concern with people's homes. There's also, you know, the refineries in the area that could be impacted. Describe your concern, preparation for kind of those longer-term possible impacts.
Well, the refineries, I think they backed down on their what they were doing. They've got skeleton crews out there. They're still producing products that, you know, you just can't go out and turn the light off on a refinery. So they are continuing to operate, but they've got skeleton crews there. But you know, we certainly hope they don't end up being shut down, because that would be a tremendous economic impact on them, and I hope they don't suffer any damage as a result of this. They are extremely safety conscious. I do know that, and I'm sure they've taken every precaution they can to make sure that you know, their plants are safe, their people are safe, and just hopefully the wind doesn't do them any damage that puts them out of business. But if we lose electricity, that, you know, the aftermath is going to be something that people are going to have to develop a little patience with, because in August and September in Corpus Christi it's plenty hot.
Yeah.
And you're not going to have electricity, which means you're not going to have air conditioning. There's going to be a tremendous amount of humidity, and you know, I don't know how long it's going to take the mosquitoes to break out. So you know, the aftermath is we're just asking people to be patient, because if they've got a need of a city service or something, that means, you know, probably 500 or 1,000 people have the same need, and we're not going to be able to get to them first on the list. But at some point, we'll get all back. And the flooding, from what the AEP has told us on the power, is that if they can't get in to make the repairs because of flooding, we could be, you know, 48 to 72 hours without power throughout the city. So the longer you go without power in South Texas, without air conditioning, the ability to cook, I mean, there'll be a lot of charcoal broiling on their grills.
It's going to be hot, too.
Well, that will, you know, we'll use up the stuff in the freezers, because it's going to be thawing, so we're going to be eating pretty good that first couple of days. But we'll survive, and we'll come out a stronger community for it. And whatever needs to be tweaked to do a better job next time, we'll make those adjustments. But I think they're going to do a great job this time.
Mayor Joe McComb, we are thinking of you and everyone in Texas. Thank you for your time. Please stay safe.
Well, we appreciate it very much. Thank you for your call and your concern.